to be known by people. Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
I didn't intend to come here this year. My country is at war, fighting for its life. But after I heard the lies and slanders leveled at my country by many of the speakers at this podium, I decided to come here and set the record straight. I decided to come here to speak for my people, to speak for my country, to speak for the truth. And here's the truth. Israel seeks peace. Israel yearns for peace. Israel has made peace and will make peace again.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you about these boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just finished 15 years of broadcast excellence. Now in our 16th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. The other night, Israel was saved by several miracles. In desperation, as the puppet leader Iran let loose with about 1,000 missiles, bombs, and drones, meant to make the Jews of Israel hover with fear and beg for mercy and peace. After 40 years in power, Bibi Netanyahu finally figured out that kissing the arses of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and its puppets, and including Joe and Kamala and the Obamas, and took a stand. Israel is redefining its mission. It's not to cater to anyone, but to fight back and destroy Israeli enemies, and do it with the approval and help of God Himself. As I believe, God told them to do when He led Moses and Aaron and believing Jews to the Holy Land 3,000 years ago. The unprovoked bombing from Iran was driven by fear and met with 3 Israeli deterrents of such genius proportions, working separately to knock down all the bombs. Miracle? A miracle that these things could work in conjunction without one of them failing, not once? You betcha. But what of the bombs that evaded the 3 defenses? Israel is a tiny and crowded country with many apartments, big buildings, office buildings, and homes all over the state. None, not one of them were hit. The bombs landed in sand, water, or rare homeless areas. Miracle? These miracles were started by Israelis taking the preparation and the chances of taking the preparations of fighting to what I believe warmed God's big heart. That's right. Bibi and Israel is in it to win it, with or without America's and UN's orders. We as Jews have finally, after 2,000 years of being the punching bag for the world, are becoming the heavyweight champion of God's heart. Lesson learned? Let us pray to God and never forget, because God will always be on our side if we let him.
Yet we face savage enemies who seek our annihilation, and we must defend ourselves against these savage murderers. Our enemies seek not only to destroy us, they seek to destroy our common civilization and return all of us to a dark age of tyranny and terror. When I spoke here last year, I said we face the same timeless choice that Moses put before the people of Israel thousands of years ago. As we were about to enter the Promised Land, Moses told us that our actions will determine whether we bequeath to future generations a blessing or a curse.
Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. My name is Dave Weinbaum. I'm your radio talk show host. My wife is sitting over there. I don't know why, but I guess she didn't want to interrupt my monologue.
That is correct.
Good morning. Yes, good morning to you too, and you're welcome to come back anytime. I've never said stop because I like you to be sitting next to me.
I'd like to sit over here today.
Why? Why? You look gorgeous.
I just feel like just changing it up.
Whatever. Okay. Oh, God. God, help me. Please. I'm asking for your help. I don't know what to do. Anyways, we've got a great show for you today. We got JJ Bradshaw coming on at 8:10. The rabbi will not be here because of the holidays, but we will have Bob Willis. He'll be here at about 8:40. Of course, no one can take the rabbi's place, but Willis is a pretty interesting guy. Chris Adamo at 9:30. You all know him. Richard Lockwood bringing us back to what happens when we have space aliens of all things, and he's a hoot, and he's got these things that go back to the 1890s that refer to the Trumps that refers to Baron Trump in the 1890s, way before he was born. We've got Jeff Zink coming on to close the show, and we know we had his son on last week, who told us that he had two of his crimes, alleged crimes, felonies that he was convicted for, dropped by the judge, and yet they still want to put him in jail. I mean, for 40 or 50 days or something like that. That's how desperate the Democrats on the 6-1 fiasco are. They're desperate to find people. They're still arresting people out there. If you were in D.C. back around 1/6 of 21, you are liable to get yourself broken into and dragged to a D.C. cell. The Supreme Court was supposed to have done away with that kind of reasoning, but there's still thousands there. Go figure. Go figure. So we've got a great show. And finally, my wife has decided to honor me with her presence. Hi, honey. This is Lisa Ann Weinbaum, my wife, and as she is known as the Law.
Uh-huh.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for the big turkey you made last night, honey.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And she's trying to, we're trying to pray about the new year. It is a new year for the Jews. And next week we'll have Yom Kippur, which is the day of forgiveness, I hope. And we have JP Maxwell over here, the producer. How are you?
Good morning. No, doing good. Doing
and
good.
down there in Salem, we've got Rick. Rick Henderson, who's a friend of Rick Camino's, and he does all the bits and the all the other stuff that makes this show work well. And in front of me, right now, right on time, mind you, is a man who is 256 years old. 256 years old, and he's wearing a tinfoil Hanukkah, a tinfoil yarmulke, not Hanukkah, tinfoil. That's really stupid, but a tinfoil little hat called a yarmulke, and normally he wears this big tinfoil hat all over, huge thing, and we just went out for a second. What was that?
That was me.
Oh, gee, thanks, honey.
I turned your lights off.
Yeah.
Lights are out over there.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for that. Okay, that chair's still available.
Okay.
No, stay there. Oh God. Anyways, JJ, I know he has a lot of stuff he wants to get to. He's an expert on the First and Second Amendments and the rest of the Constitution. Please welcome all the way from Rolla, Missouri, Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Thank you, Dave.
What's on your mind?
Well, we're taking a few hits on Facebook, but thankfully I can read your lips. It's a little out of sync, but okay. We will struggle through this thing nonetheless.
What's out of sync? Are my lips out of sync right now?
No, I'm taking a few Facebook hits. Whether that's on my end or yours, I couldn't begin to tell you. They're probably shadow banning you once again.
Well, they banned Laura Loomer yesterday. I don't know. It wasn't that. It was YouTube.
What a crime.
Yeah, well, that's starting all over the place. You know that. That's got to happen. You got these people that are dedicated to lying about Donald Trump, and they're doing it on purpose. O'Keefe, remember him?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he did a bit now with one of the producers of MSNBC, and he has it on recording that this producer says that their mission is to say bad things about Donald Trump and good things about the Democratic Party. They are an arm of the Democratic Party. That's MSNBC.
But of course, one of the things that you and I both watched this week was the vice presidential debates, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought I'd mention a couple of things about that. Number one.
Can I play Vance's closing? It take about 2 minutes, but we got time. Is that all right?
Actually, Dave, it's your show and you can play whatever you want.
I know, but I like to be nice. Every once in a while, as my wife knows, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
All right. Shut her mic down. Quick. Shut it down. She's going crazy again. All right. Go ahead. Play the clips before we get
Senator Vance, your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank Governor Waltz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not have your communities flooded with fentanyl. And that too has gotten harder with Kamala because of Kamala Harris's policies. Now, I've been in politics long enough to do what Kamala Harris does when she stands before the American people and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
All right, JJ, what do you think? JJ, you there? JJ.
All right, Dave.
Okay.
The tail end of that debate was well done, I think, by Mr. Vance. CBS said that they were not going to fact check during the debate. And of course, the only person they fact checked was Vance. And what was good about that, and they finally muted his mic on account of this, but the issue was, with all the illegal immigrants coming in, housing had become unaffordable. They fact-checked wrong him on that. And the very next day, he produced the proof.
Yeah.
Good job, JD. Good job. Thus showing CBS to be their true colors, which is nothing but a mouthpiece for the Dems. That particular debate, Tim Walz looked panicked during the entire debate. He has the face of a bulldog to begin with, and the man was clearly behind the power curve. He was outshined by J.D. Vance on practically every issue. And that fact check just proved, to me anyway, that like ABC, it was 3 against 1 on the CBS debates. Well, okay, we kind of expected that anyway. Donald Trump came back and said afterwards that ABC's, CBS, any of the major networks weren't worth his time. Yeah. That since we have this biased setup, he wasn't going to do another debate. He wasn't going to do 60 minutes. And frankly, I can't say that I blame the man. Would you walk into a firing squad? Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, but
now,
who doesn't know that?
First Amendment. You mentioned that I have some knowledge of the First Amendment.
Yes.
And Walz and Harris both are supporters of censoring so-called disinformation. Well, Dave,
what is disinformation
that I have and that you have is, tell me, who is it that decides what is disinformation?
Yes.
Some faceless bureaucrat somewhere in the government, the head of Facebook, some fact checker in his mommy's basement. The beauty of the First Amendment is that you can say what you need to say without fear of retribution, and these folks are attempting to apply retribution. They want conservative ideas banned, suppressed in any way that they can suppress them. And if you think about it, it's been happening a long time, but it really happened in spades during the COVID debacle. There was serious government intervention amongst the media platforms to suppress anything that might go against the government's words. Ivermectin comes to mind as a serious problem there. So our government is overreaching, and they appear to be doing it in spades. I, for one, am not a big fan of that. Can we talk about some crises for a moment?
Oh, sure. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I can't hear your side of the audio, Dave.
Wait a minute. How come he can't hear me? How come he can't hear me?
He must be having internet issues.
Okay. You think you're having internet issues? Did you hear that?
Your side tone, Dave. So I'll just spew.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and spew.
Crises.
I want you to spew your heart out.
We have Hurricane Helene that busted its way right up through Florida, into the Carolinas, into Tennessee. And the private response to that disaster has been very good. It's been fairly well done. churches, all manner of support is being given there. Now let's take a look at our FEMA. FEMA is going to write a check for $750 to the victims of this thing. Their response has been kind of slow. They are the federal government. They don't do anything really all that well. And the other day, the head of FEMA came back and said, we're going to run out of money.
Yeah.
Some pundits said, well, okay, where'd all the money go? Well, it turns out there's been about $1 billion. That's 1 billion. That's 9 zeros. Been given to illegal aliens. The gift cards, the housing, all the other things. And all of this was done as a matter of a federal order using the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. This was intended when Congress wrote it to be support for natural disasters like the one that we have with Hurricane Helene. But that money was squandered and given away to illegals. And now FEMA's coming back and saying, we're going to run out of money.
Yeah.
Guys, you can't have it both ways.
Can you see this?
Still can't hear your side tone, Dave.
Okay. Can you see it?
Tell you what I'll do.
Yeah.
I got an alternate way of doing this thing.
Okay, good.
All right. Let me.
Underbar, an engineer. We got an engineer on now. The problem is I can't hear you now.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Of course I can.
Hello. I love having engineers on the show.
Yeah, well, we solve problems for a living, and I am relatively good at it.
But how do you?
FEMA's
All right, let me
run
ask
out
you
of
a
money.
question. How do you think? Trump said at one time that the vice presidential races don't mean anything in terms of the election.
That's
I
wrong.
don't agree with him. I think that he was wrong because I think even CBS and all these other channels were talking about what an interesting person that Vance was,
Yeah.
and how he was. Women were actually liking this guy a lot more because all they heard about him was he was weird and he was a white idiot who was special. He was kind of like a rich guy, went to Yale, when in
Yeah.
fact he was in poverty for a good portion of his life.
Indeed. I
Okay.
think J.D. Vance came out of that smelling pretty good, and even the left-leaning media grudgingly gave him points on that. I'm afraid Tim Walz came off kind of badly. It looked like he wasn't well prepared. He looked like he was getting worked up.
What was he supposed to do, though? What was he going to say that would have been the truth? He had to lie because their whole genre is lying about what they've done or what they want to do.
Yeah, how do you defend the indefensible? That's what you're asking here.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there
what
is no
was he
good way
supposed
to
to
do
do?
that.
He kind of sucked. He kind of sucked up to Vance. Oh yeah,
Well,
we could have been friends, and all that stuff.
they did agree on some stuff, but how can you not agree on what is clearly the truth? So Walz, he didn't do too well on the debates, and even the left-leaning folks were saying, he was okay, but he wasn't great. He actually did better than I expected him to, but Vance won this thing.
Yeah.
The point
What
is
about
this,
what about his thing with China? Him forgetting that he was there
yeah.
for the big holiday in China.
Yeah, they
celebrating
Tiananmen Square. It
communism.
turns out he was
Yeah.
several months away from that. Okay, he got caught in the big lie, and he said himself, "Okay, sometimes I'm a knucklehead. I suspect that most of the time you're a knucklehead."
Yeah.
But the debate, everybody had said this is going to push things one point, one way or the other. I think it's bigger than that. I think Trump was wrong, like you said, that this came out to be a shining star. And what's important about this is a couple of heartbeats away, if Trump wins, this guy could be the president of the United States. I want somebody who is well-spoken, who is plain-spoken, who has ideas that are good for this country. So if, God forbid, Donald Trump falls over dead, at least we've got somebody in the White House
Sure.
who knows what he's
I mean,
doing.
I don't think free tampons for boys is gonna cut it. Do you?
I've got a chuckle out of that. You know, Dan Bongino calls him Tampon Tim all the time.
Yeah,
And I
that's what
chuckle
he is.
over it every time. Because let me tell you, if I was a kid in grade school and I walked into the boys' room and there was a tampon machine in there, number one, I was kind of innocent, so I'd have wondered what the hell is this thing. And of course, I would have got one of them just to find out. You know what do you do with these things? Go ask your girlfriend, I guess.
Now you've gone too far, JJ.
Have I?
Yes,
Okay.
I think you do. Hey,
Oh, well.
just wait a minute. Ray Maddox says, "Good morning, Bradshaw," and he's got a blue healer there. Patricia Odin Maxwell, good to see and hear you again, JJ. Thanks for your info and wisdom. I also thank Dave, Lisa, and JP for this show. God has His blessing on it. Thank you. That means a lot, Pastor Pat.
I think this show is blessed.
I do too.
So
It's weird. I tell you,
let's,
it's kind of weird.
Can we talk for a moment about Jack Smith?
Yes, please.
You and I have talked about Jack Smith for a couple of years now. And if anybody has been living under a rock south of Duke, Missouri, someplace, let me fill you in. Jack Smith is the prosecutor that's been persecuting Donald Trump for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court struck down a whole lot of what Jack Smith was prosecuting on, saying that presidents do have some limited immunity on their official acts. So Jack Smith, being the leftist that he is, came back and rewrote a 165-page filing. I have not read all of it. I did read the executive summary, and it is a rehash of what he has put before the court in the past.
What's the point?
But, you know, here is the point, Dave.
Okay, good.
There is a policy in the DOJ that 60 days before an election, they don't do anything which could tip the election in one direction or the other. To me, here we are 30 some odd days before the election, and Jack Smith filed this thing, and Judge Chutkan chose to make it public. Now we've got some more allegations against Donald Trump, a rehash of what has been done before, which is clearly a violation of that 60-day rule. So the DOJ is breaking their own rules. And toward what end? Election interference.
They have no case on. I mean, what is this the case of the Mar-a-Lago deal? And is it also the case anything to do with the 1-6 situation?
Jack Smith tries to cover all this stuff, Dave.
Yeah, well,
and he doesn't do it very well, I'm afraid.
If you listen to this show, we debunked the fraud of the 1-6 examination with Ryan Zink last week, where he was absolved of felonies that he was convicted of in 20 minutes by 14 jurors, all from D.C. and all Democrats.
Yeah, how about that?
How about that?
So maybe justice does float to the surface every now and then.
But they still want him. They still want him to spend 44 or 45 days in jail.
And he's still going to. He's still going to fight that. I would never ever allow that. You're going to have to convict me by a jury of your peers. I'm not going to give in to your left.
Well, they're not going to put you in front of a jury of his peers. You know, they weren't.
You know, Dave, though, back to the Jack Smith thing.
Yes, go ahead.
This is clearly election interference. And any of us who study this stuff are saying, wait a minute, you violated the 60-day rule. You're trying to lay a whole bunch more stuff on Donald Trump to make him look bad so that folks in the ballot, the voting booth, will vote against him. Now, this is going to fail. All of us who watch this stuff are saying, wait a minute, this is a Hail Mary, and it's using a deflated football. And the fact that the judge actually agreed to release this, it should have been kept under wraps because of the 60-day rule, makes me question Judge Chutkan's ability to reason things out. But this is a Hail Mary on Jack Smith's part. He's grasping at straws, hoping that some of the mud that he throws against Donald Trump will perhaps stick. I got my doubts. But this
But this
again
stuff
is
hasn't
another.
helped them. It's helped Trump all the way through every time he got indicted. People know it's a fake, it's a farce. The Democrats know it. The Democrats, right now, I believe Trump is about to surge, and I think the all of a sudden the shipping deal strike is
Yeah,
over
we're going to talk about that.
until the 15th of January.
Yeah.
Wow, that was quick.
Let's talk about that, Dave.
Yeah.
We have a law in this country called the Taft-Hartley Act, which
Yeah.
allows the President of the United States to order the two to go back and go into binding negotiations. Taft-Hartley was not invoked in this case. So what about the Biden administration? I'll tell you what I think has happened.
What happened?
Some heavy hitter from the Biden administration went to the head of the Longshoremen's Union and says, I got a deal for you that's going to come up real good for you. Here's what I propose. We think Harris is going to win this thing. And when Harris wins this thing, we're going to give you all sorts of benefits if you'll just put this strike off till after the election cycle is done. Now, what they didn't say was if Donald Trump comes back in, you're going to have a serious problem. But I think this was done quietly. It was done quickly.
Yeah.
And I think they have been offered considerable graft if they just didn't continue the strike. Why? Because the strike looks so bad for the Biden-Harris administration. They don't want to go into election with a longshoreman strike going on, covering the East and South Coast. So, the Democrats
Wait, they put a reporter out, Fox News did, at the union meeting that had maybe a couple 100, 300, 400 of these union members there, and he asked the question. So now that this has taken place, how many of you would be in favor of Kamala Harris becoming president? One person raised their hand, not one of them.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of women there too.
Their life is an awful lot better under a Trump administration than it would be under a Harris communist administration.
I think they people are getting it. Okay.
But Dave, we have talked about the union leadership being corrupt for years now, and that's not just the longshoremen. That's the United Auto Workers, the electrical unions. At the top of this thing, it's all pretty corrupt. And I think the offer was made, and the union bosses said, "Yeah, this is a no lose for us. We can't lose." Well, if Harris doesn't get in office, yeah, you guys lose. You do. Of course, you'll go on strike on a brand new Trump administration. He'll probably invoke Taft-Hartley and shut that right back down again. But they're trying to make the Republicans look as dirty as they can. And none of it's sticking, Dave. Not a bit of it is sticking.
They're this stuff about the First Amendment deal. Let's go back to that because I wanted to mention that because these people are the biggest liars in the world, and all of a sudden they're concerned about us being not able to say what we think.
They're calling it
disinformation. Yeah, I mean, everything they do is projection. You know that. They're projecting their own behaviors on us.
Oh, always blame your opponent on the dirt that you have done. That's right out of the Rules for Radicals textbook.
Yeah, you got it.
And they do that. They've become rather good at that. But yeah, here's the problem with that, Dave. They have done that.
So Kamala's going to be on. She'll be on at 9:30 to talk about that.
Good. What they have done is, if you do this just a little bit, nobody notices. If you do it a whole lot more, even the most reasonable will notice. If you do it every day, blame Donald Trump for stuff that he had nothing to do with. Blame the Republicans for disinformation. Blame the COVID on the Republicans instead of the Chinese. You blame all that you can do. When you start doing that every day, people take a look at that and say, wait just a minute. Wait a minute. I have results confirmed as fact by alternate sources. Where the hell are you people coming up with this stuff? And why are you trying to convince me that this is disinformation when it is nothing more than fact? And by the way, in the First Amendment, I have a right to espouse my opinion on any subject. Yeah. And you would shut that down if you had the case. If you had the
they would. Where's the democracy in this? Where's the democracy?
Well, we don't, Dave. We don't have a democracy.
I know it's a
we live in a
they're
constitutional representative.
I know that, but they're saying you've killed our democracy.
No, we haven't. What we're trying to do is exercise our rights under that so-called democracy, that constitutional representative republic. And
they hate the Constitution. Let's face it, they want to get rid of the Constitution, is what they want.
If at all possible, yeah, they've been ignoring it for decades. So, Dave, I'm
all right.
I'll give you a parting shot since we're running up against the clock.
Okay,
I see you waving there. Gene and I, as soon as
I got a new guy here. I got Bob Willis.
As soon as I am done with this diatribe on your show,
he combed his hair. I mean, his single hair.
And put on a new shirt.
Hey, he put on a new shirt. I've never seen him dress better than this. All right. Anyways, my friend, give me a parting shot here.
Here is the parting shot.
Take a shot at him. Go ahead and do it.
As soon as we are done on your show, Dave, Gene and I are going down to the courthouse and vote. You have been suggesting that early voting is a good idea. We agree with that. So we're going to cruise on down there and express our displeasure with the way our government is run.
All right, what special thing did you have to do to get to do that? To be able to vote early? Nothing?
No, this is Missouri. You walk into the clerk's office and say, I'm not sure I'm going to be here for election day. Give me a ballot.
Okay.
They check your ID. They make sure you're a citizen, and you vote.
Did you hear that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not hunting, so
no excuse.
Don't worry about
early voting.
Okay.
We have done this a number of times because, I'm old. I may not be here on election day. So, this is a good way.
Good point. All right, my friend. You did a great job, as always. Hi to your wife. And I'm glad you voted. And I'm glad you said that, because now we can go down there anytime and vote.
Yes, you can. It is painless. It is relatively easy.
And it's actually going to be enhancing. It's going to be enhancing, because that's a big part of your First Amendment right, is to vote.
That's absolutely right.
All right.
David, it has been my pleasure.
For another great appearance by John Jeffrey Bradshaw. We're gonna be right back after we do these commercials by where my sponsors are, and then we're gonna talk to this gentleman here, Bob Willis. He's got a lot of stuff, I'm sure. Hit it.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the number one sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
Insurance going up like crazy? Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
At Town & Country Bank, we've got all the perks of a national bank, like online banking, quick loan approval, and you can deposit your check from your phone. But that's not why our customers love us. They love us because we still offer hometown customer service. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly team remind you how special hometown banking can be. We're locally owned and will take the time to understand your needs. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Ladies and gentlemen, special treat today. We've got gentleman here. Gentleman, did I say? Yes. He's an engineer, college basketball. I think he's a master's in engineering. He played college basketball. He's a golfer. He's a prolific writer, from The Last Buffalo of Kansas to Picture Book, and also many children's books. Many of the places he's been to all over the world, and he's done that fishing and also being with the people that live in all these different countries. So please welcome, all the way from Kansas and now in Rolla, Bob Willis. You spare no expense here. You see that?
Yeah, that was the greatest ovation I've ever received. Thank you very much.
I bet you it is.
Yeah,
I bet you it is.
Well,
Nothing personal.
Today on the
Yes.
Dave Weinbaum Show,
Yes, sir.
we need to set the stage for Christmas.
Yes.
We need to make some recommendations for Christmas presents.
I agree. Just in case that strike comes back.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
And some of the best presents are books.
Yeah.
And the public today,
we need to show these,
doesn't read enough. So my suggestion for Christmas is give your loved ones a book. And I have some recommendations.
Yes, I bet you do.
I do.
Yes.
I've written several books, and there's one set. It's called the Trout Adventure Series, about traveling the world.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of those books that are published. And 2 of them I would classify as pretty hardcore fishing books, and 2 of them I would classify as adventure travel fishing books. So for the fishermen in your family, if you want them to catch trout,
yeah,
go with Trout Adventures North America. It tells where all the trout in the country are, tells how to get there, tells how to catch them.
Uh-huh.
It's a great book, and I'm going to say, for those that want a special gold, catch all of the cutthroat trout in North America. There's 13 of them. You have to travel all over North America to do it. It's in the book.
13
different species.
Different species of cutthroat trout.
Yeah.
Wow. I know this is a great book here. Is that the picture book?
No. This is another pretty hardcore fishing book.
Okay.
It's called The Complete Book About Grayling. Grayling is a special fish. And
that's up north, isn't it?
Yes. Well,
Canada and
in the United
Alaska?
States, there's only about 4 places to catch grayling because they're endangered, and that's in the very northeastern part. Montana is the best place, but also Wyoming. Most of the grayling. I wrote this book because I was in Mongolia, and all of a sudden I'm catching a lot of grayling.
Yeah.
And I said, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
I'm catching all these grayling, and they're all different. And I said, you know what? I need to write about this. So this book was born from the experience of catching grayling in Mongolia. And then I went to Siberia. Turns out, of the 13 species of grayling, 11 of them are in Mongolia and Russia. So I spent a little extra time over in those countries catching them. But if you want to catch North American grayling, I would suggest you go to Grebe Lake in Yellowstone.
All right, let's get to that picture book.
I did not bring the picture book.
Oh,
today.
that's too bad.
Now we're going to talk about traveling the world.
Okay.
There's 2 books that'll get you to some interesting places.
Okay.
This book is Fly Fishing the Islands of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And
the islands of Europe.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you know there was islands in Europe?
Sure, I did.
Okay.
But why the islands? Why not off the shore of
because
England?
They are so unique. A lot of that book is about Iceland and Greenland.
Yeah.
As well as the UK
and also Ireland.
Well, Ireland, yeah, a lot of the.
What's that favorite dish you have in Ireland?
Well, actually, that was Scotland, and that's haggis. And
haggis.
I tell.
Enough.
Go
on with the book. This is better than haggis. But maybe it's better than haggis. Let's put it that way.
This is a really good book about traveling the islands. This is my favorite book of them all, right?
Okay.
Here. And it's Fly Fishing the Far East, which is basically Asia. And
is that Trout? Is he speaking? Is that a caption?
No, that's
okay.
I'm catching a fish.
Now you talking about a talking fish. Now you got something, my friend.
I'm catching a fish in that picture.
Okay. Well, it looks like he's talking, doesn't it?
I like this book because it's Mongolia is one of the best places in the world. Mongolia.
Yeah.
And it also,
well, you heard about the riots in northern China, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was a Mongolian beef.
That's really good, Dave.
Thank you. Hey, what's the matter with you? It was a Mongolian beef, and he's calling somebody. I'm giving you crickets.
It was such a good joke.
There you go. Come on, man.
It was such a good joke. He's going to have to share.
Okay, so what about the kids' books?
The kids' books are not out yet. I do have.
You got some great kids' books coming out.
The Adventures of Dog is with a publisher right now, and I
and Frog and
well, there's
Squirrel,
Frogger and Dazzle, The Adventures of Dog,
the
Cats Are Us gang, and then there's one about Chippy, who's a chipmunk.
Yeah, and you actually live with these animals.
Well,
in a house there. I guess most of them are in the barn, right?
Well, no, they're mostly around the house.
They're around the house.
Yeah. Dazzle
and you name them all.
Oh, well, yeah, you got to name your friends.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is friends with little animals.
Well, let me just tell you about yesterday, okay?
Yes, please.
Yesterday, I had to get grain and do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I had to go check fence. So I'm out there checking fence, and there's turkeys everywhere. I mean, the field is full of turkeys.
And?
So I turn around and check all the fence and come back up and run into 3 deer that are over there eating.
Wow.
Eating with the horses, okay? Then I go back to the house, and there's armadillos holes everywhere. The armadillos are attacking my yard. Actually, in the Chippy book, we got Army the Armadillo. So
okay,
it's all there.
So like, do these animals know that you're such a nice guy?
Well,
do they know the real
real
Bob Willis?
Why else would
they know the real Bob Willis?
Why else would
I'm
they
going to
show
come
up?
to your house sometime, and I'm going to let them know what I know.
Okay, you can come over because I'm having trouble with a squirrel.
Yeah, you're having trouble with a squirrel.
Yeah,
do I look like I'm a squirrel wrangler over here? I don't think so.
This squirrel gets on my back deck and throws all the plants on the floor.
He gets on your neck?
On my deck.
Oh, your deck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, on my deck, and he throws all of the deck plants on the floor.
Oh man, what are you gonna do? Well, feed him. He wants to be fed.
No, I'm sicking Arnie and Harpy on him, the 2 dogs.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, you got some great kids books. All right, well, let's talk about some other stuff. Where can they buy these books now?
The Trout Adventure books are all on Amazon. All you got to do is go to Amazon and type in Trout Adventures, and they show up.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about politics. You got shocking for Dems on the big debate, showing J.D. Vance to be a brilliant debater, and Tampon Tim, an amateur, with nothing to work with. And Trump is quoted as saying that the vice presidential debates don't get you anything, and I think this one actually did.
Well, it showed 2 things to me.
Yeah.
One, it showed how poor a choice that Waltz was, that he really doesn't have the ability under pressure to make good decisions, and that's not an attribute you want in your potential president. And the other thing that it showed is that the Democrats have a continual stream of lies that they foster on the public, and I think Waltz continued that. And what I found interesting is he's supposedly said that he's at Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
Okay. He's in China.
They got him on that one.
Well, he's in Tiananmen Square. Turns out he's in Nebraska now. I've been through China. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will have to agree that Tiananmen Square is a lot like Nebraska. I mean, the people do speak Chinese, and the buildings are a little different. But it's a lot like Nebraska. I can see how you can make that mistake.
That's pretty good, Bob, even for you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's pretty funny.
There is one thing I would like to talk about, though, and we were in a conversation this week.
Yes, we actually. I have to give you some information. That is that he's kind of like my golf coach, and him and Jack Boone. We go out pretty much every Wednesday, and we have a great old time. And they cheat each other, and they cheat me, and I cheat them. So it's kind of fun, but it's all done in fun. I mean, we give each other putts and stuff like that, and maybe take a mulligan or two. But it's fun.
It is fun,
and we keep score. But
that's what golf's all about.
I am the scorekeeper, and
you are officially.
I'm the official bartender of this group.
That too.
Where I have a big old bottle of whiskey. This is smoked maple whiskey, and it's so good. Only if we get a birdie, or some of us have gotten recently an eagle. Have we given out drinks to each other?
Yeah,
it's small drinks, though.
Yeah, it's not enough to have an effect.
I
what do you
disagree.
What are you talking about?
You come home from golf on Wednesdays.
Well, that's because of the drink. That's because of the drink I have at the bar afterwards.
So wait, he comes home on Wednesday. Do you start golfing on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point?
It takes a while.
It smells like he's been drinking since Tuesday.
Oh, stop it! That's because some of you people, like you, have pickle juice drinks, and I can't stand that.
I tried a pickle juice drink.
It's horrible.
And I put pickle juice drinks right up there with haggis. Okay?
You know what? If you had that pickle juice with haggis, you might not survive it.
I think
maybe it would cure everything or kill you.
I think you could eat haggis if you had enough pickle juice.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, maybe there's a point there.
I would like to say something though about.
Yes, of course you would.
We were in this discussion.
Yes,
and one of the things that we were talking about the 2020 election.
Yes,
and someone said, "Well, that's irrelevant." And I said, "No, it's not."
Why would it be irrelevant?
That's.
Oh, I know who said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not going to mention his name, KD, but well, that's not a name. Those are two letters.
So that was said, and I said, "No, you need to understand. 43.7 million Democrats came up with 81 million votes.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any type of sense at all.
Exactly.
How did they do that? Well, how they did it was they automatically registered all the mail-in ballots. They didn't verify anything. The problem with that is, without verification, those people are now on the voting rolls for 2024.
Really?
Some of the states are going through a process of deleting those unverified voters.
Yeah.
Louisiana did it. They were sued by the Justice Department.
Yeah.
For removing 750,000 votes.
Wow.
North Carolina did it. They removed 800,000. They were sued by the Justice Department.
Really? See?
Okay. Georgia said we're only going to use paper ballots.
Yeah.
They were sued by the Justice Department. Okay. You can see a trend developing.
Yeah. We're going to have, later on, we're going to have Jeff Zink on, who is, he is an expert at the forensic election audit. And he knows all this stuff.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Arizona.
Let's talk about
where he's from.
Right. He's running for Congress in Maricopa County.
They deleted, the state of Arizona.
I heard this, yes.
Deleted 12,300 voters from the rolls because they couldn't be verified. Biden won Arizona by 9,000 votes.
Right, exactly.
That tells you how important this is right now. And to say it's irrelevant, you have to follow up on what has happened.
Well, and people, the Democrats are trying to make this into such an issue, and and that it's involved in the January 6th thing.
They're making, absolutely,
it's ridiculous. They had all over the country. They had riots, including in Minnesota, where Chris where not Chris, but why? What's his name? Wise. What's his name? The vice president.
Oh,
candidate?
Waltz. That's
is-
Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he let him go. They burned down the. He wouldn't get the National Guard out there.
And the media only says, Trump can't question this. He needs to go to jail.
I know. Well, there's a reason for that. It's a truth.
Shakespeare has a great line.
Yes.
Me dost think you protest too much.
Too mucheth. No, he said at the end it was too mucheth. See, they spoke that way in ancient England. How would I know?
Yeah, you were there.
Another key about Arizona that Jeff's proven is that they had 3.1 million votes in that 2020 election, and they lost chain of custody on 2.9 million of those 3.1 million votes, meaning those 2.9 million votes are technically invalid.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we know that happened all over the country. You had trucks coming in the middle of the night.
The problem is because of COVID, they allowed all the states to use mail-in ballots.
Right.
And they didn't bother in a lot of states to verify those ballots. That's the problem coming up here in 2024. Okay.
Yeah.
And those states that still allow mail-in ballots, as they did during the COVID crisis, are the ones at highest risk. Now, that's changed substantially in the swing states because Wisconsin, and I think the other one is North Carolina, now require voter IDs.
Uh-huh.
It's still a problem in Pennsylvania. It's not quite as big a problem in Arizona because they've actually purged their voter rolls, as did North Carolina. But when you talk about the uncertainty of the voting system at this point in time, it's questionable.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is.
And we got to be vigilant about it. By the way, let me check the board here. That's the one. All right.
Oh.
Wanda Cavalier, love your show. Well, thank you so much. Where are you from, Wanda?
She's an awesome person. She's
You know her?
a group administrator on many conservative groups.
Okay.
And, she's a God-loving woman, and she's just been a great acquaintance on Facebook for sharing things. So
All right.
she's awesome.
My
She's
wife
awesome.
is. You're in the Merrimack Republican Women's group.
Yes.
Are you now? And was the president at one point?
Yes.
I'm confused. Are you still the president, or?
As of January, no, I stepped down to
Yes, I know.
first VP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Kind of like Vance will be.
Okay. Well, he's not going to step down. Why would he
Well,
step down?
He will be VP.
I hope so. My
There you go.
God, we got to get out. I mean, we got to fight back, and you got to believe in God. You got to pray, but you got to do what's necessary to win, like they're doing in Israel. And let's talk about that a little bit.
You want to talk about Israel?
Yeah, Netanyahu is he's evoking times of Moses, listening to God, and God guiding him like he did with Moses in the Red Sea. The Jewish nation escaped the Pharaoh. And now all of a sudden, when he starts talking about victory, instead of just, we're just going to mow the lawn and go back and have another ceasefire like they did 18 times in Gaza, suddenly he's about to win this war.
Let's talk about the strategy that Israel is using.
Please do.
At this point in time. Israel has taken on the three most significant terrorist organizations that in the proximity of their country.
Yes.
Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen. They've responded to the attacks.
We call them Houthis.
The Houthis.
Houthis and the fish, right? Hey, there you go.
It's hard to be serious when you use that term. Okay. Israel has responded to all of those terrorist groups.
Yeah.
And in fact has degraded Hamas's ability, significantly degraded Hezbollah's ability, but Hezbollah is tougher because the Israel's problem is with Hezbollah in in Lebanon. Hezbollah exists in Iran. Hezbollah exists in Syria, and they also exist in Lebanon.
Yeah, they have other countries they're in. Yes, I agree.
But they were run by the overall leader of Hezbollah that Israel did take out.
Well, no, they've taken out they've taken out the head leader, and then the guy that followed the head leader, and then the guy that followed that guy, and then the guy that followed. 4 of them they taken out.
But their head leader was Hezbollah in several countries, not just in
but
Lebanon.
where were 2 of these guys? They were
in Beirut.
In 1983 in Beirut.
Yeah.
Killing Americans in barracks.
Well, they're a terrorist organization.
Okay, but Joe Biden hasn't said a word about it. Kamala hasn't said a word about it. Israel took out known enemies of the United States of America.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what the United States has done to Israel and to Iran since Biden and Kamala Harris became the administration.
Yeah.
The first thing that they did was release $9 billion in frozen assets.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing they did.
What was it? Is that the first time under Obama? How much money was that? $150 billion.
No, it was less. He only did $4.5 billion.
Who did?
Obama.
Why was that reported as $150 billion?
It was million, not billion, and he did that in cash. He sent him a boat. He sent him a plane load of cash. Okay. And what Biden did that was...
We need a fact checker.
What Biden did that was most detrimental was to release their ability to sell oil.
Yeah.
Trump totally curtailed their oil sales.
Right.
When Biden came in, he released
They were close to bankruptcy.
And now they're totally affluent because they're selling about 2 million barrels of oil a day.
Right.
Most of it goes to China and India. Overall, they have gained about $900 billion in oil sales since the Biden administration took over. That has funded their terrorist organization. That is why Hamas is emboldened, why Hezbollah is emboldened, and why the Houthis are emboldened, because they're well funded now because of the administration.
Yeah.
And so when you look at what Israel's done, Israel is dealing with a terrorist organization. But now, since they've been attacked by Iran, they have a decision to make on how they're going to respond.
Yeah.
The most logical response would be to take out all of their nuclear capabilities.
Yeah.
In terms of...
And Biden's saying, don't touch them.
Biden said, don't do that.
Yeah.
Why would he do that? Because the reality is you want to incinerate their nuclear ability. You don't want a terrorist organization with a nuclear bomb.
Right.
You don't. I don't understand why he said that, but he did.
Here's a crooked guy. Who knows how much money he's getting in kickback style?
Well,
look at all the wars all of a sudden.
Israel.
Who knows what the kickback is in Ukraine and Russia? And now, what about Afghanistan? The $85 billion in weaponry. You don't think he got a piece of that action?
They totally blew Afghanistan. That was just a terrible decision in terms of how.
And all the Americans that are still held hostage by Hamas, and he don't care about them.
Well, you didn't go through a logical progression in Afghanistan. You just gave the country to Al Qaeda, another terrorist organization.
ISIS.
ISIS. And Israel is faced now with whether or not to go ahead and take out the nuclear facilities in Iran, or take out their oil production facilities, or their missile firing capabilities, and in some way they'll eventually respond to that. And my suggestion is take out the nuclear capabilities.
I would agree with that. And I believe they're scared in Iran, because when they killed the first guy who was a Hamas bigwig who had an apartment in Tehran, they had this thing planned for years. And they had a bomb set there for who knows how long, and finally caught this guy and exploded that. That scared the living out of the leaders, because if they can get to him, and they got to all these guys in Hezbollah and Hamas, they can get to these leaders, and that's the way you get them.
Until Israel used a bunker buster bomb and killed the leader of Hezbollah, I didn't realize they had that capability. We have that capability.
Yes, we do. Yeah,
and we have bunker buster bombs. And,
sure,
but Israel does too, and I didn't realize that. And that means that they have the ability to destroy the nuclear facility, which is also heavily underground in a bunker, which it would require that.
And apparently they got a great spy system.
Yeah.
Because they know where all these people are.
Their intelligence system, it seems, exceeds ours.
Yeah. Well, also their credibility is a lot better than ours, especially since Netanyahu got straight with God, in my opinion, and said, "We're not taking this anymore. We're not going to be the bitch of all the world. We're not taking it.
Well,
we are going to win."
When you're a country, when you're an ally of the United States, you have to rely on support from the United States. But that doesn't necessarily mean that in every administration you get the kind of support you need for your country. And that's what Israel's going through right now.
And that's why I've been telling the rabbi for years, you need other friends.
You do.
You need India, for example.
That
would be a great matchup.
I think India is probably one of the greatest allies that the United States can have, that Israel can have. They have a greater population than China.
Oh, they're 1.5 billion or something.
1.5 billion to 1.4.
And it's not that they got a great army or anything, but they are technically genius.
They're a nuclear power.
They're a nuclear power.
Yeah.
And they're technically genius. They can keep places like Pakistan in isolation to where they can't. No, they're nuclear too. Pakistan.
Yes, they are.
And they're not friendly to Israel.
Well, they're actually fighting on the border now. They're fighting on the border with India.
With India, right?
And they're a Muslim country. That's the problem,
right?
In terms of their relationship with Israel.
Well, here's the other interesting thing. There's a lot of Muslims living in peace in Israel who are they're in the IDF. They're fighting for Israel. It's not all the Muslims.
The vast majority of Muslims are peaceful.
Yeah.
We have a terrorist group that seems to be the spokesman and ignores the peaceful Muslims. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the treaty that Trump signed with those countries in Israel stabilized the Middle East.
Yeah. And it's going to do it.
And then along came Biden and total chaos.
This is kind of connected to when the October the 7th attack, because they were getting real close to Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia is hated by Iran.
Yes.
Is that
they're enemies?
Are you making the connections?
They're enemies.
That this was good timing to get that attack out there.
Well, that attack stopped the agreement that Saudi Arabia and Israel were about
also,
to sign.
On October the 8th, that's when Hezbollah started bombing from Lebanon.
Yeah.
And they had to evacuate all those homes.
It was a coordinated effort to stop that from happening, in my view.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Sure.
Okay. Right now, they're at 60% of nuclear grade weapons uranium. Once they reach 100%, they'll be able to produce a weapon. Before that occurs, someone has to destroy their nuclear facility, or you will have a terrorist organization.
I think it's going to happen.
I do too.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, why does Iran need an atomic bomb or the capability to make them? And the only reason would be to destroy Israel.
Got it. And they've said it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a mystery.
Yeah.
They said it. It's a 2-bomb country at the most.
Yeah.
Okay. They've said that. So why would Israel have not already done that? But they're going to do it, and they have to do it to survive.
They do, and they haven't done it because of world politics. Basically, everybody doesn't want them to. That's the deal.
That's the deal. And finally, they're taking what I consider to be why God is helping them right now, because they took the responsibility on themselves, and they started doing things that would prepare them to do this 20 years ago. Those things, the pagers and all that stuff. These people getting blown up, and it's not the civilians that are getting blown up. It's the actual leaders of Hamas.
Yeah, the Israel's targeting the terrorist warriors,
not the civilians.
Not the civilians.
Right.
Now, that's not what you read in the papers, but you can't believe anything in the media. I mean, nothing.
Exactly.
And so Israel needs to do what Israel needs to do.
Yeah. Okay. So what else you got?
Well, let's talk a little bit about Kamala Harris.
You like her, don't you?
I do. I saw a clip. The other day.
Yeah.
Where she's walking in front of the border wall.
Yeah, she was there. Come on.
She
finally made it.
And
she was dressed for it too.
She had her hard hat on.
Come on.
And it's a photo op, and she has her hard hat on, and she's talking to border agents. And then she has a rally. And in the rally, she says, Trump didn't do anything to protect the border. And here she is walking by a wall.
Yeah, that
was built by Trump. How can you give someone like that credibility? I mean, it makes no sense. And the reality is, there's a lawsuit going on right now. The government is being sued by a Texas rancher because they deleted the contracts that Trump had put in place to build a wall on his land.
Yeah.
And he sued them because they didn't go through the environmental process to suspend the contract. He won in court.
Cool. Yeah.
So when she says Trump didn't do anything, in the Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
For several
forestry
the Department of Agriculture runs several things, and one of the problems that farmers are having today is the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
They're discouraging meat production. They have a program that singles out minorities for support, but doesn't give support to normal ranchers. A lot of things are going on in the Department of Agriculture, and the thing that I hate the most is they suspended all timber production in Alaska. All of those things create problems for the consumers.
Yeah.
They increase prices.
Why are they doing it?
Why are they doing it?
Yeah.
There's a whole variety of reasons.
Is it possibly
Is it a
racist thing?
Part of it is the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is DEI.
Yeah.
Those are the two issues driving ag at this point in time. And that's a problem because ag needs to support the farmers. They need to support commodity production. And that's not what's going on right now.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, so what's your take on the upcoming election? What do you think is going to happen?
Well,
do you think they're going to get through the cheating? And
you look at all the polls.
Yeah.
And y'all probably don't go into how the polling is actually done and how many.
Well, we know it's corrupt.
How many Democrats?
We know it from 2016 that the polls said Trump had 100% chance of losing for half the day up to the on voting day.
Well, there's two reasons the polls were wrong in that era, and one reason was they oversampled Democrats. The other reason was that the people that support President Trump don't participate. At least 25% of them don't. So you're always understating.
Why is that? Why are the people who are for Trump?
Because they get irritated when they get that kind of a call, and I'm one of them, and I don't participate.
Yeah, me neither. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't participate because
I mean, I'm participating by having this show.
Yeah,
and you're participating by being here.
Yeah,
and JP and my wife and everyone who's listening, we're participating in our right for the First Amendment, so we don't have to use the Second Amendment.
You mentioned something near and dear to my heart.
Okay,
the First Amendment.
Yes.
Okay. So Al Gore, in his capability of being our green energy czar,
what a brilliant guy,
was at a meeting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and in the meeting,
was he with John Kerry?
Probably.
Okay, probably was.
And in the meeting, he said one of the biggest problems in getting the green new energy program going is the First Amendment. He said, you can't let people talk against green new energy.
Yeah. Why not?
Because people start believing them.
Yeah. Why not? I mean,
because it's not. It doesn't help the green energy program.
Where is it proven that this has worked at all anywhere?
It is not. But that's the problem. Everybody with some common sense sees that this is wrong.
Yeah.
And so
to make it a law and maybe incarcerate you because you said things like that, that's what we're coming to.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see what happened in COVID when they suppressed any kind of dissent to COVID vaccines. And it goes on, and they're trying to suppress dissent associated with the Green New Deal. They're trying to do it with DEI.
Yeah,
all of those things are intrusions on our First Amendment rights.
How pissed is Joe Biden? How pissed off is he?
I don't think in his mental state at this point in time he has any idea.
I think he does. I think he realizes he had 14 million votes. And I don't think he even realizes that he is over the top. He doesn't realize it. And I think he feels like, and Kamala she still hasn't had a primary vote. He got cheated. He knows it.
I find it amazing.
He's pissed. The next day, after the announcement of Kamala, he's wearing a MAGA hat. Okay?
I saw that picture.
Is that incredible or what?
Yeah.
He's pissed off. I can tell.
I saw that picture. Well, the problem with how Kamala became the candidate is that she was appointed.
DEI.
She was appointed.
She was DEI, and even Biden admitted it.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying, "Oh, how dare you say that?" But Biden said so. Right?
Well, you know, and maybe pivoting a little bit from Kamala, I'd like to talk a little bit about President Trump and what the Democrats have done to President Trump, Trump in the last 4 years.
Yeah. How about 8 years?
Well, I just want to deal with the last 4.
Almost 10 years.
Starting with impeachment. Okay. Yeah. And the impeachment for Russian collusion, which had no merit at all. And yet we went to a vote on it. They impeached him for insurrection, which had no merit at all. And yet we went to a vote on it. And when those votes didn't work, lawfare began.
Yeah.
And when you look at lawfare, you quickly see a trend. All of the New York cases have to do with harming him financially.
Yeah.
And they have, to the tune of about $600 million.
Yeah.
That's going to be overturned. He's eventually not going to have to pay it. But associated with the financial burden, of course, he's had to spend a lot of money defending himself.
The lawyers make the money.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with the criminal actions against him to damage his reputation and make him, in the Democrats' eyes, unelectable. Well, that hadn't worked.
It's actually been counterproductive.
It has. But when you look at it, he's got 4 criminal cases, 2 in federal court, 2 in state court, and he's got 3 civil actions.
Right.
And it's all because he's was president of the United States.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's something.
He was president of the United States, and he was not. They weren't able to control him like they did Bush, for example.
He actually changed politics, and because he changed politics, and because the Democrats could see that this was not going to be to their benefit, they've done everything possible to damage the man.
Right.
And the fact that he's still standing is a tribute to really how tough and how strong and how much the people believe in the man.
Yeah, and I think the assassination attempts are a tribute to the trash talking.
It's their rhetoric.
Democrats saying, so put a bullet in his head. They've said it. I've never. Do we have another actor that can do an assassination? I mean, we have the clips of that. Do you have the clip of that? No. Okay. I don't know if we still have it now. All right, that's fine. But it's just outrageous. And they're saying it now, even after.
Well,
afterwards,
their whole political system is about degrading their opponents. They don't talk policy.
Yeah.
You don't.
No, they just try to destroy your reputation.
Their advertisements and everything they do, and I'm an independent. I've never been a Republican. I've never been a Democrat. I've always been an independent. And about 2 decades ago, when the Democrats started using the degradation of their opponents, I began to have trouble supporting Democratic candidates because of the way they behaved towards their opponents.
And they do it in group style.
And it's gotten worse over the years.
They do it as a sign of loyalty. It's a mob that they have to do it. Well, and then you get people like Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy who say, "Hey, what the hell's happened here? What happened to this party?" And they get out. And the guy in West Virginia, what's his name? Manchin. Yeah.
And people are smart enough to know what's happened, but power is an aphrodisiac, and that's what the Democrats are into at this point in time.
All right. Well, listen, we're coming close to the next segment. We haven't done any funny stuff. My God. Well, we were kind of funny. Well, you're kind of funny anyways. We have a message from Joe here, too. Joe Dalton, good morning. For your information, Aaron just sent me a message that they had to take the vote no on Amendment 3 sign due to complaints. Yeah, he called me about that late last night. I'll deal with it after the show is over. Wow. And I couldn't do anything about it.
There's a whole thing in Raleigh going on right now about where apparently a Democrat candidate turned in the McCutcheon farm down there on Forum Drive where there's a roundabout.
Yeah.
Apparently the McCutcheon farm had several signs out.
Yeah.
And so this Democrat pulls up this old policy or regulation in Raleigh from decades ago, saying that you can only have signs on 32 square feet, and if they're in public right away, they can't be there. And so they're trying to get this invoked, and the city of Raleigh put out a letter. So they're going to have discuss that at the council. But the bottom line is that if they allow this to be taken down there, then all the signs could be going down.
Yeah, and right now it benefits them.
It's a big deal.
Well, I've got our next guest coming on. You want to hang out?
Hey, here's the deal. Okay.
What's the deal?
The deal is
I'm not paying you anything.
No,
here.
Wait.
Now you stop it.
I'm going to be asking for assistance here. Here's the deal.
I just gave you a 5-minute commercial.
Here's the deal. I got
get a free meal at McDonald's.
And I got to grab a bite of lunch. And then I got to load a bunch of hay on a wagon and to help my son-in-law.
Yeah.
So we're loading hay at 1 o'clock.
All right, I can't be there.
So you need to be there and help me load hay. Okay?
Tell him what I do. Would you tell him what I do? Because he doesn't believe me.
We got to go load the wagon, bud.
All right. Well,
go through McDonald's drive-through at about 12 to 1.
Yeah. 12 to 1. That's where I'm there.
Damn,
I'm there. I'm there actually about 11:30, depending on when I get out of here. And I'm there, and I direct traffic and drive through. It's a lot more dangerous than doing baling stuff. I mean, the wheat isn't going to attack
you. Ever picked up an 80-pound bale of hay and put
no,
it,
you know what? And I never will. How's that? I never damn will.
Here's what he looks like on Fridays in the drive-thru.
Yeah, a lot skinnier though.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't look like that.
He's hired a stunt double.
Kiss my ass. Who said that? What's wrong with you guys? All right, listen. I got this gentleman here. He's a gentleman. Well, he's not much of a gentleman, but he's a gentleman. He's laughing now.
You're going to pick on everybody today, huh?
Shortly. I'm picking on everybody today. Anyways, thank you for being on the show, Bob. And I got one last thing to tell you, and that is that wait a minute. Is that you?
Does he do this to everybody?
Hold on.
Pretty well he does, yeah.
Yeah, do you mind? You're not on yet. Put his mic down for a minute, will you? For God's sake.
Hey, that's censorship. You can't do that.
Okay, I was going to say, we already did your commercial for the books.
We did.
You know, my bucket list was so long, it went beyond the pale.
Drip.
All right, see, now that's a farm joke right there. All right, farm joke. And he is going to criticize me now for that.
That was amazing.
No, I'm going to have to endure two of these today.
Yeah. You don't have any one of these either, for that matter. Okay, thank you so much, Bob Willis. Let's give him a little applause. Not too much. That's enough. You got to pay these people overtime that are doing this applauding and stuff. All right, thank you so much for being a star on the Dave Weinbaum Show. We'll have you back.
Well, it's always fun.
It was very interesting.
It was always fun, and there's lots of things to talk about.
I appreciate all those putts that you give me that you say now you could have made that,
well,
right?
Actually, that little tip I gave you on putting has made you a little better putter.
You're right, and I said it and I mean it. I appreciate it, and you've taught me a lot of stuff, and you tell me when I'm not doing stuff right, and I do appreciate that. Now, my wife, when I say that, she says, "Shut up, shut up."
I do not.
You do too.
Leave
me alone.
It may be you do not have the technique down yet.
Yeah, probably we never will have that.
I'd like to. I'd like to say shut up.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. I don't want to say shut up to him when he's helping me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, lifetime conservative, author of Rules for Defeating Radicals, star of TV and podcasts admired by General Flynn. He ate so many pizzas in Wyoming. His nickname is Krusty. Please welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show, the expert on Marxism, Chris Adamo. You like that nickname, Krusty?
There's a long story behind that. You really hit a nerve, but okay. How are you doing, sir? Whoops. Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody. Says I'm in the show, but I sure don't hear anybody in the studio. You guys having a good time?
Ivermectin. I buy it by the pill. Ivermectin, the pandemic, it shall chill. Ivermectin. I take one every day. Ivermectin. Now, da-da-da-da-da. Can you hear me?
You forgot it, didn't you?
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah, things kind of went blank there. I thought maybe you had brought Mark Zuckerberg aboard and they're censoring us again.
That's an interesting comment because we have been having a little trouble with getting my stuff on Facebook. Although it is
I'm not
on
at all
a-
surprised. I'll tell you all the joking around that we're doing. It looks like you're frozen up again. I hope you guys can hear me. I'll keep talking. Let me know. Oh, there you go. Okay. All the joking around and everything I've been doing this morning, I'll be honest with you, is a little bit of an effort at comic relief because I am absolutely furious about what the things that are going on. It's been absolutely hideous, and
let's hear it.
It's dangerous. Well, let me talk about two things right here in Missouri that we've got to recognize and we've got to do our best to get the word out about, because the big money, I mean the big money from out of state is pouring into Missouri for these false media campaigns. And in particular, I want to focus on Amendment 2 and 3, that these are ballot initiatives for changing the state constitution and the absolute just unconscionable lies with which they're being presented. Okay, let's go briefly to Amendment 2. I want to just give you the skinny on it and then move on. Amendment 2 is a pro-gambling initiative. It's all about gambling, and yet every advertisement you see on it, typical for these people, it's all about the schools. We're going to get more money for the schools. They got all this billions of dollars going to the schools, and we have a horrible education system because of the way leftists have gotten into the school system and totally perverted it and turned it into an indoctrination sewer for their agenda. But if we bring gambling into the state and look at all the pathologies that come along with gambling, somehow this extra money is going to fix the schools. This is the way it's being presented. Amendment 2 is bad news. It's going to cause higher crime. It's going to cause more social pathologies, and it will not help the schools. Okay. Now that's Amendment 2. Let's move on to Amendment 3. Amendment 3, the pro-abortion ballot initiative. And again, these people, the one thing you never see in any discussion of abortion is an aborted baby. They'll never, ever, anywhere, even the pro-lifers are scared to show you the result of an abortion because it's a dead human baby. Every single abortion results in an innocent child's life being destroyed, okay? No, the Amendment 3, the way it's presented, they say, well, everybody has an opinion on this, but the Missouri law is too extreme. Amendment 3 is the most extreme, unconscionable child murder that you could imagine. Is literal genocide against the unborn, and they're going to say we're extreme, and because we want to protect women and children from being exploited by the abortion industry. Now let me give you a couple of things about abortion is how human traffickers maximize their profits. Okay, they get these little girls out there. They get them raped serially by all these Johns, and then eventually they get pregnant. Well, you take the girl and you rip the baby out of her and you send her right back to business. Okay, I mean you're talking about the most.
They treat them like animals.
They treat them like animals. Hideous abuses of women and children, and it covers the tracks of the rapists. You know, but these miserable people, my wife can tell you, every time these ads come on, I start yelling at the TV. It gets me so infuriated. These ads come on and they're going to protect the women and children. Protect them from what? Protect them from the possibility that if there's a baby conceived there, that they're going to give birth to the baby. It's the men, it's the exploitative men that want to keep abortion legal because it covers their tracks. And the women who have had abortions, they're one of the strongest pro-life groups out there because they know what it's like to have that baby ripped out of them and to carry that wound in their soul for the rest of their lives.
I've encountered that. Let me just mention something on my site, the Dave Weinbaum Show, and also Dave Weinbaum. I have a video of a father talking to his unborn daughter in the womb. You can see her react and smile at her dad as he's talking to her while she's in the womb, 32 weeks in.
She's become familiar with his voice. She's become familiar with his voice.
Absolutely, and smiling. That's a human being.
Yeah, that is absolutely a human being.
A beautiful baby.
And for all those people that are going to
rip them out in the 8th and 9th month.
Yeah, absolutely.
And or after birth, you're going to murder a baby. That's what they do. That's what they want.
And that's what this Amendment 3 is all about, is legalizing that. Let me ask you a question. What has happened to the general nature of society and human rights for men, women, children, everybody? What has happened to those things since abortion became popularized in America? Has it improved? Has society improved? Has respect for the individuals improved? No, it's become a cheap commodity that we can expend for convenience. And who wants that? The abusers, the men. Now they've got young girls convinced this is somehow going to liberate you. And look what happens to the young girls. They get used. They carry the scars. And if they try to speak up after the fact and say, no, I shouldn't have done that, they get silenced.
There are a lot of women who are pro-abortion.
They are, because they don't know what they're talking about, or there's some of them who had the abortion and they're going to stick their fingers in their ear and squeeze their eyes shut and say, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Why?
Yeah, well,
because it's not a little thing you did wrong.
A lot of them are going to be sorry for it later. I'm just raising the issue that there are a lot of women who are pro-abortion.
No, it's true, especially the younger girls.
Do they know what they're doing? Some do, maybe. Some don't.
Most of them don't.
A lot of babies
they're
are
liberated.
Dying. Not just men babies. They're killing women.
Oh, absolutely right.
Potential women. That's the whole point. You're not just killing men babies. You're killing your own likeness.
And yet this Amendment 3 ad,
you're destroying that person.
These Amendment 3 ads that are all over the place because they have big money, because the abortion industry makes big money off of killing unborn babies. These ads are all talking about protecting girls and children. No, they're not. They're exploiting them. Nothing short of that. That's what it's all about. They don't get a dime for protecting anyone. They get their money from exploiting these women who are often forced into these situations, who are scared, who are confused, and they'll do this. They'll get their profit off of it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, you have a message to Christians about engaging in politics, and what is that?
Well, this we can go throughout the New Testament, and in case people don't think they think it just started there, we can go through the Old Testament, and I can show you that God's people are held to account for two things: what they do say and what they don't say. And if you're in a position where you see a person being abused, being wrongly sentenced to death, being treated unjustly, and you're silent on it, Scripture holds you complicit. And I'll take you back to Ezekiel chapter 33, verses 4-6. And I'm going to paraphrase here. I don't have them all written out in front of me. But God tells the people that if you see evil coming and you warn everybody about it, and they ignore the warning, well, they're going to suffer their consequences, but their blood is on their own head. If you don't warn the people, then their blood is on your hands. Then you are guilty of silence when you should have spoken up. Now we can go to the New Testament, and I hear these days, and it just frustrates me beyond belief. It actually enrages me when I hear Christians say, well, we're not supposed to be involved in politics. They say it like that's a flat out truth. And I ask them, chapter and verse. Show me chapter and verse. I can show you everywhere from Esther to the last books of the New Testament where we're supposed to be speaking out against these evils around us. It doesn't say that as soon as something is able to be labeled political, that somehow I got to take hands off and let the devil have that. No, if I see evil going on, I come against it. How am I going to be salt and light in this dying world? I'm going to stand for what's right and stand against what's wrong.
There are risks and or possibilities of punishment.
Oh, absolutely.
For doing that, but still, you got to say what you think. I mean, we're not put here to be idiots. God gave us a brain for something.
Or to be pawns of the enemy.
We need to do something about it.
Yeah. And
Christians
again,
and Jews and Muslims, whoever you are.
God's people need to be standing for God's principles because nobody else will. And it's just that simple. You can go back to Joshua 24:15, one of the famous verses that Christians love to put over their doors. And it's a great verse. And it says, it's Joshua speaking to the children of Israel. He says, choose ye this day who you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You don't do that in silence and compliance to a fallen world. It's just that simple.
Yeah. I get it. All right. But there is a perfect man out there, perfect husband. His name is Doug Emhoff, and he's married to Kamala Harris.
Okay. I knew that we were going really on some really
he was-
shaky ground when you said perfect.
Oh, well, no, somebody anointed him as the perfect husband. It was a interviewer. I don't know which of the mainstream media he was talking to, but she said he was the perfect husband, a perfect man, and but he was accused of assaulting women in 2012, and he's Jewish and he's Kamala's husband. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that if you were to actually start unmasking all of these, if they start by being immoral leftists, and it's not that he's Jewish, that is a problem with him, it's that he's a leftist.
Oh, thank you for
I have,
that. Oh,
well,
friend.
I have such a problem. Well, it's a Jewish person. You know what? Bill Clinton was a Baptist. How much did that really mean? Okay, we got to look at where the person's actual heart and soul is at. But if you were to start unmasking the leftists in particular, because they had, in their day-to-day life, in their political life, they advance a morally depraved agenda. You think they're going to be saints in their personal life? Are you kidding me? It's a reflection of who they are. And you're going to see, if we can get to the bottom of a lot of this corruption, you're going to see that Epstein's Island, we can go down the whole list. And I forget what's her name now because we don't hear about her on the news every day. The gal that enabled all of the trafficking to Epstein's Island, they find her guilty.
Yeah,
and yet we still don't know a single client.
Okay.
What's that?
It's Janine Maxwell. Is that right? Something like that.
Ghislaine Maxwell. That's
Ghislaine,
right.
Yeah.
And she's guilty, but we still don't know the name of a single client. Why? Because you'd have half of the DC leftist swamp and quite a few rhinos in there too.
Well, you got another one coming up. It's did he?
Yep.
Did he or didn't he? He's up there, and they're looking at. He's on suicide watch right now, and
I heard.
This is going to be an amazing thing because he's got all of Hollywood politicians.
Yep.
I mean, people. I mean, he doesn't have long to live, one way or the other. They're going to Epstein him.
While this is going on, and while the people that are actually committing the abuse in those trafficking situations and everything, while they're walking free, let's talk about another lady who got the book thrown at her in the last few days, and that's Tina Peters. You familiar with that story? Tina Peters out of Colorado. She was a local election official who looked into the fact that her voting machines were being tampered with.
Yeah.
And she just got the maximum sentence. Why? For telling the truth. The judge in that Colorado case was every bit as bad as what was his name? Ergodan up there in New York. Every bit as corrupt and biased. And he's attacking her for exposing the election fraud.
Which is a crime. I thought that used to be a crime.
The thing that the left is doing here, it's a systematic effort, and it's like putting the J6 people in jail for years without even trying them. I mean, total absolute violations of the Constitution and the law, and it's being done for the specific purpose of scaring you and me.
Yeah.
Okay, I better not go to that next J6 protest in Washington because they're going to haul me off and throw me in jail. I better keep quiet. I better not speak out when I watch these people bringing in boxes of ballots and ballot stuffing because I'm the one that's going to go to jail for it. This is how a corrupt, despotic police state tightens the noose around a free society. And at this point, you mentioned earlier, it's like, there's a cost to standing for the truth. There's a cost to doing what's right. We better decide because we have two options. We either stand for the truth, come against this corruption and call it out, or we surrender to it. And if we're going to surrender
to it at the risk of becoming somebody who is like not only an accomplice but also a puppet.
You're absolutely right.
We'll be afraid of our own shadow pretty soon. And how long will it take to come after us if we behave?
Yeah.
Even if we behave the way they want us to, how long are we going to last? Because of the color of our skin, the height.
Well, you and I, the color of our skin puts us. We got the bullseye on us already.
Well, you're already in the witness protection program, so I know how that works. So
shame.
Sicilian. He's a Sicilian right here. He's in Wyoming.
Well, I was in Wyoming. I was having
They
pizza
threw him
there.
out of Wyoming. Did they throw you out of the program too, or what?
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna, since you mentioned Wyoming,
Okay,
keep
let's talk
an
about
eye on Wyoming. Wyoming, they have we got my book into the hands of the Wyoming Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
And the Freedom Caucus vice chairman came right out and said it changed how they did business in the state legislature. And right now, barring huge cheating on election day, right now the Wyoming Freedom Caucus is weeks away from taking over the Wyoming legislature. It'll be the first one in the country where you actually have a dominance of Christian conservative patriots in the state legislature. The rhinos are on the run. The rhinos are openly now campaigning, just like Liz Cheney did. They're openly campaigning for Democrats to cross over and, well, to vote for Democrat candidates, because we it's like in the eyes of the rhinos, having real conservatives in there is far worse than having Democrats in there.
Oh, sure.
But
and her daddy too, the ex-vice president, Dick Cheney. He's over there too. He's backing her, and he's backing he's backing Harris.
They're backing Harris. Yeah, I know. They had a thing. I saw a news report. They're on MSNBC now. About the time anybody goes to MSNBC to have a voice, they're most likely in that situation to try and pander to the left. Okay. I mean, I do know some conservatives that go over there. It's like, no, you're naive if you think they're going to give you a fair shake. But Liz Cheney's over on MSNBC and they're all bowing down and fawning all over her. And she sounds like Nancy Pelosi. You know what?
At one time, she voted 93% for Donald Trump. 93%. She was loyal.
No, actually, she wasn't loyal. I can honestly, watching the way things work inside the legislatures. I can tell you personal stories where you can vote a certain way where it looks good, but you know it's not going to amount to anything. Do you remember all the votes that Paul Ryan and the rest of the rhinos, that they took all of these votes, Mitch McConnell, to repeal Obamacare when Obama was president?
Yeah.
Take a dozen more votes. Now I even have a higher percentage of showing that I'm standing against Obamacare. Okay. Well, take another dozen votes and we'll raise our percentage up even more.
And it came down to one man, John McCain.
The minute Trump got in there, they didn't want to vote for that.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about the initial implementation of Obamacare. I'm talking about after the fact when Republicans,
they want to get rid of it.
Well, they claim they want to get rid of it. The rhinos get out there and they grandstand over this and they send out fundraising letters. The minute they had Trump in office, the minute they could have actually voted it down, gotten a president to sign it, repealed Obamacare, suddenly they quit. And the same thing with the wall. They're all for the wall as long as Obama's president. They know that we can vote for money for the wall and it'll always get vetoed. We look good doing it. Now I have a 93% voting record, says I'm a conservative. The minute Trump gets in there, the minute you start actually trying to implement this stuff, the minute you're in a position to pass these things, all of a sudden, just enough of your rhinos get peeled off to make sure it never passes. So yeah, we've been betrayed by these people.
So did you happen to see the Vance debate with?
I'm gonna
Wise?
Full confession here. I watched a few minutes of it. I cannot stand those things. I mean, I don't want to be throwing things at my TV, and it's that frustrating to me.
Well,
but
I thought this was really good.
Well, it was good in the sense that Vance definitely took them to task there. But the amount of bias, the amount of manipulation, and since then, by the way, have you heard that they're now trying because he those little feminists in there, they accused him of mansplaining. Which I've said mansplaining is what you have to do when you're in the presence of too much witch whining. Okay, that's when you got feminists that won't shut up because they think everybody wants to hear what they have to say.
Criticism. I thought in fact, I ended up listening to I think it was CBS after the show, and a lot of the women were very impressed with Vance.
Yeah, and that's why the feminazis have to come out and accuse him of mansplaining.
Right,
and here's the best one though, and you'll like this one. They have literally said that that Vance's beard is actually a sign of toxic masculinity.
Ah.
So I see somebody else with a beard that might be guilty of toxic masculinity. Lisa, is he guilty of toxic masculinity?
Yes, he is.
I
Yes, he
probably
is.
do.
Does he mansplain?
And I got short man
Short man
syndrome. You
syndrome,
see
too.
this? And bald man.
Yeah,
Sort of like you.
guilty as
And
charged.
don't forget, just plain old grumpy guy.
Grumpy guy. I'm Jewish.
Plain old.
I'm Jewish in a town that has almost no Jews other than my family.
Well, I've been grumpy
love
for
it
the
here.
last couple of weeks because of what's going on in the country, and I'm telling you, we better big time get concerned. Point is that they resort to this childishness because Vance, he took up to task. He took Waltz to task, and as far as if you go back to what debates are supposed to be about, which is us learning about the issues and where the candidates stand on the issues. Vance just walked all over Waltz. Waltz was, he was an embarrassment, but they've been an embarrassment for years. The next day on the news, we get to hear something totally different because you're going to hear the news narrative, the fake news about how, Waltz really showed him or whatever. It's a lie. How much of what they tell us isn't a lie?
I don't think they could. I don't think there's enough ability of them to eradicate how much trouble Wise was having with Vance. I don't think so because he was put in a horrible position. I'm not trying to have mercy on this guy because he put himself in the horrible position, and everything he said he knows is a lie. He was sucking up to him. He was sucking up to Vance half the time. Oh, we could have talked about this and we could have made a deal.
So tell me this.
Wait.
Half the time it looked like whenever he had to try to figure something out, it looked like he was going to have an aneurysm. Like he would get all red and all that. And I saw a meme where somebody said, "Why is Vance debating against Don Rickles?"
Yeah,
and they made that two walls look like.
Don Rickles was a friend of mine. No, he wasn't. But
so how in the world did this guy get to where he's at? How did he get to be governor of Minnesota with this kind of stuff?
Well,
it's all what you have is we're in an era
weird.
of media campaigns. And, look at Kamala Harris. She went from being the concubine of the California House Speaker, who was Willie Brown, who was, who's total exploitative dirtbag. And so he has Kamala Harris as his mistress. I'll say it as politely as possible. And now she's vice president and they're trying to put her into the White House. It's a media driven campaign. In other words, don't look at what they've actually done. Don't look at actual policies. Look at the advertisements and what the big money says.
What she's done in the last 3.5 years. She's still in office, hasn't done a damn thing to help this country. Nothing. Every policy that's gone through the Biden administration, she was for. Okay, so how does she weasel her way out of that? She lies about it. She says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Trump won't do that. Trump didn't do the wall. Trump didn't do this. Trump, there was much more illegal immigration under Trump than us. Well,
but who are those CBS feminazi moderators fact checking?
They said they weren't going to do any fact checking.
Right. And
they did, and they were wrong.
Absolutely. The same thing happened with ABC there when Trump was debating Kamala.
Look, we know that. We know that, and everybody in this country knows that. Even Democrats mostly know that. Not all of them.
We need to keep speaking it, Dave. We need to keep speaking because we still have we have a month and a day until the election. And mentioning Amendment 3, how the in Missouri here, this radical pro-abortion right up until birth, kill the baby amendment, and their advertisements are saying that Missouri pro-life law that protects a baby is too drastic. Okay, we got a month. They're going to be putting out more and more of these big money ads between now and election day. We have got to do what we can, which is again, your show here, speak the truth. Yeah. This is the most powerful thing we can do against them. And so that we've got to be diligent about this.
Well, one last thing, the unions now look like the actual members of these unions seemingly look like they're ready to all jump for Trump. Like, 60 to 75% of them The one guy went there yesterday when they said they've got stuff maybe a little bit signed up until January the 15th. Anyways, there's not going to be any more union action. And so a guy asked him, he says, well, how many here are for Trump? There's probably about 200, 300 people. Not one person raised their hand out of that group. Not one person. That's pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, that I can tell you from personal experience.
Yeah,
there's an orthodoxy there
for Kamala. Anyways, other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and buy your book? And you need to get another book out there soon. Okay?
Yeah, I don't know. If we have a country left, I might do that. If we have a country left after November, my book is still.
If we don't, you can still fight the battle. You know.
My book is still available at Amazon. You go there and you just do a search on Rules for Defeating Radicals or my name, Chris Adamo. And if you can help me, Dave, the big thing I need is to get this book into the hands of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, because we have to have a more coordinated, effective effort to fight the onslaught, particularly from the rhinos.
Do we have that? Missouri Freedom Caucus? Okay, so who would we give this to?
Well, I think if you can get back in contact with Bill Eigel, tell him I want to talk to him. And we need they need it. It's a strategy book.
And we actually have the direct link to Chris's book in the comments where you can get it from Amazon. You just click, it'll take you right to it.
Okay.
Oh, that's
great. Did you hear about the judge who only listened to
a judge joke after everything we've been through?
Did you hear about
the judge joke
who only listened half the time? He had selective hearing, sort of like you. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Adamo.
You guys take care and keep up the good work.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Go eat a pizza, Krusty. See ya. That was a pretty good nickname, Krusty. What do you call a guy who loves pizza? Krusty.
Yeah. And apparently it struck a nerve. I don't know why.
Yeah. All right, so let's do a funny. Now we don't have what's his name on.
Not yet. We need to do a second set of commercials anyways.
All right, let's do it. Hit it.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about Koi Sushi and Hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word? But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is 2 words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the number one sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
Insurance going up like crazy? Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted. Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, we're waiting for Richard Lockwood to be here on the show, and he's having little link problems. We've been having some link problems all morning for some reason. Gee, I wonder what's going on, Facebook. But you know, we have not done any funny stuff. I'll tell you what. Let's do Reagan. And let's do Carlin. Why don't we do that? Well, we're waiting for Richard Jeffries or whatever his name. Jeez.
I remember the story of the fella here a while ago who was running for Congress as a Republican. He stopped by a farm to do some campaigning, and when the farmer heard he was a Republican, his jaw dropped and he said, "Wait right here." He said, "While I get Ma. She's never seen a Republican before." So he got Ma, and the candidate looked around for a podium to give his speech from. The only thing he could find was a pile of that stuff that Bess Truman took 35 years trying to get Harry to call fertilizer. So he got up on the mound, and when they came back, he gave his speech. End of it, the farmer says, "That's the first time I've ever heard a Republican speech." candidate said, "That's the first time I've ever given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform."
Did you ever look at your watch and then you don't know what time it is? And you have to look again, and you still don't know the time. So you look a third time, and somebody says, "What time is it?" You say, "I don't know." Do you ever notice how sometimes all day Wednesday, you keep thinking it's Thursday? And it happens over and over all day long. And then the next day, you're all right again.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, lifetime. Wait a minute, I got the wrong guy. we've been scratching around looking for stuff all day, and hopefully this is going through on Facebook. This is a mystery man. Maternal grandfather wrote a book about Barron Trump and his dog Bulger. Guess what year that was? Please welcome all the way from wherever the hell he is, Richard Lockhart. Richard, how are you? What's so funny?
Lockwood.
Huh?
Lockwood.
Lockhart. Yeah,
One of those locks.
You got a man with many hats. Has no time to hang his head. And look what you got, and look what I got.
Ah, nice.
See, I like my bald head like it is. I want people to see it, and I light up the room. Look at that. I can't light up a room like this. I'm in shadows. You can do it, however. All right.
First of all, happy Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, good celebration of what used to be. Well, Jesus celebrated this.
Yes,
you
he
know
did.
that, right? He
Yes,
celebrated
he did.
all the Jewish holidays. You know,
he was a good Jew.
He was a good Jew. Absolutely. Well, we've got something happening in Israel that's really something. And play a couple of clips of Netanyahu, and I want to get his reaction. Okay.
The curse of Iran's unremitting aggression, or the blessing of a historic reconciliation between Arab and Jew. In the days that followed that speech, the blessing I spoke of came into sharper focus. A normalization deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel seemed closer than ever. But then came the curse of October 7th. Thousands of Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists from Gaza burst into Israel in pickup trucks, on motorcycles, and they committed unimaginable atrocities. They savagely murdered 1,200 people. They raped and mutilated women. They beheaded men. They burned babies alive. They burnt entire families alive, babies, children, parents, grandparents, in scenes reminiscent of the Nazi Holocaust. Hamas kidnapped 251 people from dozens of different countries, dragging them into the dungeons of Gaza. Israel has brought home 154 of these hostages, including 117 who returned alive. I want to assure you, we will not rest until the remaining hostages are brought home too. And some of their family members are here with us today. I ask you to stand up. With us is Eli Stevie, whose son Idan was abducted from the Nova Music Festival. That was his crime. A music festival. And these murderous monsters took him. Kobe Smirno, whose son Jonathan was murdered, and his corpse was taken into the dungeons, into the terror tunnels of Gaza. A corpse held hostage.
So, how do you explain? Now that's what's going on there, and this guy says, you know what? He says we're not gonna give up. We're not going to listen to Biden. We're not going to listen to anybody. We're not just going to survive to have this happen again. We are going to win. And there's several things that the miracles that have taken place during this, and I think that's one of the miracles that has happened is Jews in their own country now, after 2,000 years of being guests and or hostages in other people's countries, now are saying we're not going to settle for we're just going back to war again in a year or two. We're going to get this done now. And I think God likes that. See, I'm of the opinion that God wants an attitude out there that you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You don't fiddle around with stuff like this, especially when they want to annihilate you. What do you think?
Well, I think definitely that God has a purpose for all of this. I believe that we witnessed the miracle when Iran attacked with all those ballistic missiles.
Yes, sir.
And didn't kill a single Israeli.
How does that happen?
That's a miracle.
How can you have, they had 3 ways of knocking these 3 different technologies of knocking these things down. And they succeeded very well, but obviously there was some that got through. I mean, 1,000 or so rockets and drones and bombs. So some of them got through. Well,
it was the same divine
crowded place. It's a real crowded place. And not one of these bombs killed anybody. It went into the water, into empty areas, if it could find an empty area, and to sand. How does that happen?
It's the same divine intervention
exactly
that kept our former president, from being killed.
That was my first question, though. How do you explain Trump's survival of 3 or more assassination attempts, and especially the bullet that hit his right ear? Why is that? You're a Catholic, right? You understand what
that is. I do. The anointing, sure.
Anointing, yeah. Your right ear, your right toe, and your right thumb.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Let me take you down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me take you down a rabbit hole that might shed some light on this. Okay, as you mentioned, my great-grandfather Ingersoll Lockwood played a major part in the U.S. time travel project. I'm taking you there.
Yeah.
And he was sent by Abraham Lincoln to be the ambassador to Germany. And Lincoln was contacted in a dream at that time and told to give Ingersoll Lockwood a message and put it in a sealed letter. Lincoln complied, and he gave it to Ingersoll, and he told him to give it to a young man who was living in Karlstadt, Bavaria.
Wow.
And his name was Friedrich Trump.
Okay.
So after Lockwood returned to the U.S., then he began to write his Baron Trump books. That sets the stage for what I'm going to share with you today. Okay?
Yeah, but tell us the year. Can you tell us the year of when the Lockwood book came out?
The year that was in the late part of the 1800s, somewhere right around 1895.
Yeah, about 1895. Okay. And what was the name of the book?
The Marvelous Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Dog Bulger.
God, that's amazing. And my daughter actually brought this to my attention before I ever met you. That's not a coincidence. That in itself is something.
Well, let me continue. As I've mentioned on your past shows, the proto technology of time travel came from the inventor Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And documents and working models of his time experiments were taken by the FBI after Tesla passed. That was on January 7th of 1943. Okay, so the feds gave Tesla's work to a brilliant professor of physics at MIT named Dr. John Trump. Okay, so you're putting all this together now.
Now, and John Trump was the uncle.
Yes, he was our president's uncle. Yeah, Donald Trump's uncle. And
Fred's brother.
Yes.
Okay.
So the feds asked Trump to determine if Tesla's work could aid the U.S. military in their war effort. They were in the middle of World War II at the time.
Right.
And so in the trove of inventions were drawings and models of teleportation devices and time travel devices. Okay, so the teleportation device used something called radiant energy, and it was made of a blending of different wavelengths of amplified light. It glowed between two elliptical metallic booms, and the shimmering light actually had the capacity to bend time and space. So the fruits of Tesla's work were manifested in a government project called Project Pegasus. Have you ever heard of that, Dave?
No.
Okay, so Dr. John Trump took the leading role in this Pegasus program, and it fell under the agency known as DARPA, which stands for Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. So this Pegasus program was a great success and actually did rudimentary time travel on two levels. The first level was communication with the future, and the second level actually led to a type of holographic device which allowed mission specialists to travel virtually, first of all, into different time zones, and eventually it developed into a device which transported objects. And finally, human beings into different time periods. Now, as Project Pegasus advanced, its primary mission became the transference of important information about the past and the future to the U.S. president, who, of course, shared it with the intelligence community and the U.S. military.
That was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, wasn't it?
Yeah, at the time, yes.
At the time, yeah, okay.
And then the project involved a total, listen to this, of 140 children who went on to become America's first generation of time travelers.
Okay, so when was it known that an actual human being could be a time traveler? You said they were using space aliens that didn't have as thick of blood as humans, right?
Right. Well, let me continue, because this is the only way we'll put it all together.
Good.
So one of the early Pegasus projects was called Operation Lincoln, and it actually attempted to prevent the assassination of President Lincoln by interjecting people and new elements into his time frame. The hope was that even minute changes in the time frame could alter the outcome of his assassination. So a young boy was chosen for this mission, and his name was Andrew Basiago, Basiago. And Andrew was interjected multiple times into President Lincoln's near assassination time frame. He was sent to the Ford Theater on the evening of President Lincoln's assassination. So when the first intervention failed, the president was shot, he was sent there a second time. And in fact, he was sent there 5 times. Andrew said later on that he ran into himself twice, which frightened which frightened the wits out of him. Here he's seeing his own self. Every trip that Andrew made to the Ford Theater was slightly different than the others. And so the scientists believe that he might have been sent into alternate realities that branched off of our own timeline.
This is so
Now-
Back to the Future. And that's
Now-
connected to this.
Now,
The movie Back to the Future is connected to all this.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And Dave, these trial voyages took place from 1968 to 1972. I got my facts right now.
Okay.
Andrew Basiago didn't tell about his experience until the year 2004, when he came out and he actually made a press conference. He figured it was time. And he even has a picture of himself as a child in a crowd that was listening to a Lincoln speech. And I thought that was amazing. Like one of the very early pictures.
I mean, did he go as a child?
He did.
How was a child supposed to prevent a catastrophe like the Lincoln assassination?
Just by his being in the time frame, it was thought that it would be altered. The event would be altered. So, and that didn't work out. So today, the Pegasus project has turned into like a communication between various organizations in the far future. Okay, that's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's controlled by the United States, even though some other like rogue nations are conducting parallel research.
Wow.
And the future groups that we communicate are actually our benefactors. That's what we were talking about. They're both observers and guardians. Our ancestors would probably call them angels, you know?
Yeah. So, how long has this been going on in history?
Well, let me go on.
You said our grandparents or something. I mean, so how long has this been going on?
Okay.
I mean,
well, if I can continue, you'll understand.
Yeah.
Our ancestors would call them angels, but that's what I was referring to. Their ongoing mission is to make sure that humanity is not attacked by other civilizations in our galaxy and outside of our galaxy. They actually created an iron dome around Earth's entire timeline.
An iron dome. Now we're talking about Israel.
Now we're talking about Earth.
Earth.
Yeah.
An iron dome.
Exactly. Around our entire.
To keep out the other planets crashing in and the.
To keep out other civilizations from doing us harm.
Okay.
And
so
that's where.
How do we know there are other civilizations? How do we figure that out?
Well, we've been told about it. Now that's where President Reagan got his idea for his space defense initiative.
Sure.
And that led to Israel's Iron Dome.
Yeah.
So this all connects.
Because Joe Biden said it was stupid. Okay.
Well, Joe Biden's stupid.
Yeah. There's no time that Joe Biden would be relevant to anything good, in my opinion.
By the way,
my opinion now.
Joe Biden, the Biden administration, is not privy to any of this.
Well, okay. Well, who is privy to it?
Well, right now there's a scientific community in the United States that guards us very, very well. And you find them in our science labs, like Argonne National Lab and Los Alamos, and yes, there is an Area 51.
Okay,
So,
now listen, I've got my next guesses ready to go, and if you want to hang out with him, his name is Jeff Zink, and he's going to be.
No, I've met him before. Yes.
Have you met him before?
Yes.
In which year was it? 1800 or
on your program?
on the program. All right. Well, we're going to get him on. Kinesiologist, master of the forensic audit for elections, son Orion conviction felonies, convicted of felonies in the 1-6 fraud, then dropped after SCOTUS ruling, but still has to spend some time in jail. He is the Republican candidate for Maricopa County in Arizona. Please welcome to this conference here with Mr. Lockhart, Jeff Zink. Jeff, how are you? Listening to this?
Oh yeah, I caught the very tail end of it. We've been on the phone a lot. We have some things that are going on in North and South Carolina. Asheville is prominently what's been going on. I've got some friends that are out there, and literally saying that the federal government is taking their land, their homes. And the thing is, in South Carolina.
South Carolina, really?
Yeah. So the thing is that they're doing very similar to what they did in Hawaii, where they had the disaster that took place there. They were blocking people off. They have the National Guard. So we have a lot of people that are on their way out there to see firsthand what's going on and trying to help these people. They're going to get boats. They're going to get out there and start salvaging, the lives they had. One of the things that's really disgusting. We had a friend that had a helicopter, and they went out and they said that while they were flying over, they flew over numerous people that were waving at them, begging them to save them and stuff. And they said that they went and they saved one person. They were going to go back and because the weight issue on their helicopter. So they only got one person. They said they were going to come back. And the sheriff there at that county said that if they took off, that they would arrest them. That they could not do that.
I heard this yesterday or somewhere that they were arresting people trying to get out of the hurricane's damage.
Right. So, the problem that we're having is we have a government that is completely out of control. That's one of the reasons why it's so important that we get elected officials that are going to sit down and start working for the people. Our government has now been turned and weaponized against us. So we need to sit down and we need to start getting people who, have, as my Jewish friends say, the chutzpah to, stand up against them.
Yeah. So we were just talking about time travel here, and this gentleman's grandfather, I don't know how well you know each other in the stories, actually wrote a book about what's his name? Trump, Baron Trump, back in 1895. It's his grandfather from his mother's side, and they sent back people in time trying to get President Lincoln not assassinated. Okay, and they're studying this as we talk. So I don't know how this.
Jeff?
Go ahead.
Nice to see you.
I'm
again.
not familiar with any of this, at all. I mean, the main thing is that what we have is we've got a lot of people here in Arizona. What's really interesting is that we pretty much have woken up Arizona now. We now have people are being slotted for all of the positions for poll workers and poll observers. We now have what's really interesting is I call it the battle of the signs. The Democrats come out and damage Trump Vance signs almost on a daily, nightly deal. We go back and we refix them. They'll take them down. They'll do whatever we have to replace them. And the thing is that this is the reason why people are just going just this Donald Trump syndrome is getting out of control. I've actually even come up with when somebody says, I can't believe that you're voting for Trump. What I always say is that I'm not just voting for Trump. I'm voting for the First Amendment, all right, freedom of speech, so that we're not censored. Think about this, Dave. You're one of the only podcasts that I come on and I'm uncensored. There's others where my Facebook page has been taken down, my Twitter's been taken down, all of these things. So, your freedom of speech lives here, which should be what everybody else. I'm voting for the Second Amendment. Kamala said that she's going to have forced, turning over your guns and things like that, which I'm all for. If you want to take my gun, I'm all for that. I'll turn it in, but it will be empty and it'll be out of my cold dead hand. That's the only way I'm turning it over. So the thing is that I'm going to make sure that our Second Amendment's taking place. We need to also, we're voting for religious freedom. The fact that they shut down our churches and our synagogues, and we were not able to worship God during that time. Yet we could go to a strip club and we could go to a bar, and it was not unaffected. We're voting for the unborn babies and the right to live.
A French laundry restaurant in Napa Valley, if your name happens to be Gavin Newsom, and everyone else is excluded except your special.
Oh, absolutely. It's rules for thee and not for me.
Right.
The thing is that the other thing I'm voting for is the growth of the economy, lowering interest rates. We're going to be lowering taxes, lowering gas prices, reducing inflation, and keeping jobs in America. These are the things that are very important. I'm returning our troops from foreign countries, this forever wars, making sure that we don't do that, but bring our military and taking care of our veterans. I'm voting for peace through progress in the Middle East, which is through the strength of our military, which is what we had when Trump was there.
Donald Trump. Let's do a little bit more analysis, because we were talking about this, about how we believe that he's been anointed by God through the shot that he got in the ear, in a right ear. And you're a preacher. You're a
right.
Right. And you know about this kind of stuff. Leviticus.
Well, one of the things that happens is that when you have blood there, it's anointing of God. We've had 2 assassination attempts, actually 3, but the third one people are not really talking about. There was also reports that they had missiles fired upon Trump's plane that were intercepted, and that was through back channels that I heard about, but no confirmation, no obviously the media is never going to say anything about that. But the thing is that we sit down and we look at what's taking place. And this is where it comes back. What's really interesting is that Maricopa County, in my district alone, I was very fortunate to go and was honored to be asked to come to the Indigenous conference at Talking Stick, which was all of the Native Americans. They do it once every 4 years. They have this deal where they invite the Democrats. They never invited Republicans. I'm one of the first Republicans that they ever have invited. And I was able to speak. And what was really interesting is that I got a standing ovation for something that was really interesting, which was they asked me specifically about the Navajo Hopi agreement that has already been sent to Congress. It's sitting in Congress, but going nowhere. There's no one that's championing it. And the Hopi and Navajo have asked the federal government, I think it's like $29 million or whatever. And when I was answering, I said, yes, I'll be more than happy to champion that. I'm willing to do that. You have done your research. You want this to take place on reservation land. I have no issue with that. And so the follow-up question was, well, I'm concerned. You said that you're for this, but you're not concerned about the price. And I said, let me tell you something. If we can send $26 billion over to Ukraine, which we shouldn't have done, I said, what we need to do is we need to start taking care of Americans. And the thing is that price shouldn't be an issue for any of the Native American tribes. And that got a standing ovation.
Okay, that's good news. What do you got to say to that, Mr. Lockwood?
Well, first of all, let's get back to the hurricane. It would have been a totally different response if it were in a different geographic location and affecting different demographic population. I like Katrina. They were all over that. But actually, our money that was supposed to be going, the FEMA money that was supposed to be going to these hurricane victims actually went to illegal aliens.
Right.
And that's just a shame. Americans.
Right. Now they have no money for any other hurricanes or disasters like
this.
They
say they're out of money, right?
Yeah. Why are they out of money? Because they gave it all to the illegal aliens, who many of
illegal aliens, Ukraine, Ethiopia. I mean, all of these other countries.
It's an America last policy.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what it is.
John Jeffrey Bradshaw, great show. Thank you, sir. Patricia Oden Maxwell, good to see and hear you too, Jeff. Thanks for the great info. You're a God-given blessing to us, a fellow pastor right there. You're not a pastor, are you, Richard?
No,
but you're a devout Catholic, right?
So, do you know why the hurricane flooded the mountain regions? Have you heard this?
I've heard a lot of speculation as to this being man-made and man-controlled.
Well, part of that, and the reason why is that there's mines there, and what has recently been discovered is that it's the richest in lithium, which is our lithium batteries and stuff. And so the people were complaining about what was taking place in and mining and stuff. They're not complaining about working, but they are complaining about the fact that they were trying to bring in illegal aliens to work the mines, and the people started complaining, going, you're supposed to hire us. And so it was creating problems for the mining companies and everything else. And now you have this so-called hurricane that set over there, flooded this area. Now they're bulldozing all of their houses and everything else and taking it and displacing these people so that they can go in and do whatever they want. And so these are the things that we've got to have, especially when I get into Congress, that I'll be looking into in detail and making sure that they're not going to lose their land. The people are going to be recompensated. They're talking about, well, they didn't have flood insurance. When's the last time anybody had flood insurance in the mountains?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. They still need government help, obviously, and they're not getting it.
Well, and that's where we're going to have to come back, and we're going to claw back a lot of the funds and things like that. Even what's funny is McCarthy stated, or not McCarthy, but McConnell stated that, well, the money to Ukraine never made it to Ukraine. It made it to all of the military. Well, we know that the lobbyists of the military go to all the congressmen and they pad their pockets and everything else. And we're going to be looking at that very closely.
Good. Now, did the after the great interview with Ryan, by the way, last week, what's the latest? And by the way, Facebook froze that, so people couldn't see it on Facebook. Now they saw it everywhere else I'm on, but I thought that was pretty interesting. They froze the whole show. And
absolutely. I've actually missed. I've missed a couple of podcasts, and the thing is that we now have video that shows that the 4 Capitol police officers in Ryan's trial lied. They perjured themselves.
Yeah.
So they lied at the beginning about him. They lied during his trial. They lied during his sentencing and stuff. And we've got a corrupt judge who won't stand up and say, look, you guys are lying about everything, and so we're going to toss this out. You can't convict somebody on a bunch of lies, and that's exactly what they're doing. And what we're doing is we're taking the offensive. Good. So if you go to X and you go to real Jeff Zink AZ, so AZ for Arizona, real Jeff Zink AZ, you can pull up and you can take a look at the video yourself. And then I also have the transcript from the trial where the question and answers, did you ever give up your back? Did you ever protect these people? Jeff and his father or Ryan and his father and stuff. And they're like, no. And then you're looking at the video and it shows them pulling us behind, them giving up their backs to us.
The police? The
Capitol Police. The police that were testifying that we were so dangerous that they could never turn their back on us and that they never guarded us. And yet the video itself shows exactly what my son and I testified to. We obtained one angle. We have 5 other angles that we're trying to get. Get this. It is locked underneath the highest security that you have. So our government is at risk for these other angles and everything else, which is it's excrement from the back end of an animal. That's what I would say.
Okay. All right. Speaking of which, is he still worried about having to serve like 50 days or something like that?
No, it'd be 34. It's going to be 34. We fought and we got 57 days credit for what he's time's already served. So it's going to be 34 days. The problem is that they're requesting that he go to DC, and if he goes to DC, he'll never get out. So the thing is that we're gonna see what we can do about preventing that.
Amazing. And he served time already for nothing. He did nothing wrong.
Right.
Okay. So you got 1.7 million illegals we know of are considered to be terrorists, and that's just what we know of in this country.
Right.
So we're about to be attacked by all these terrorists and all these people we don't even know about. It started already. Well,
part of the problem is with Harris and Biden. When they opened up the border the way they did, and then they saw that they weren't going to enforce it, all of these countries drained all of their insane asylums. They drained all of their prisons. They drained everything there. Did you know that it's safer to be in other countries right now than it is to be in the United States?
Trump. Absolutely. He talks about it all the time.
So, their crime rate has dropped significantly because they got rid of all the criminals. The problem that we're now seeing is that we need to have somebody who's going to do tougher sentences. I'm really good friends with Michael Morin, and Rachel Morin was the lady that was murdered that had 5 children. Both her mom and Michael have met with President Trump, have talked with him and stuff. And the thing is that if you're and the gentleman that and I wouldn't call him a gentleman, I'd call him an animal that murdered her, raped and murdered her. The thing is that we need to have not a life sentence, but a death sentence. We need to start killing these people. If you create and cause a crime that causes the death of one of our citizens, then that person should not live at all. They're not deported. They're not taken out. They're executed. And we're going to have to start having people that have that mindset. We have to go back to the biblical aspect, especially in Levitican law, which, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, type mentality in order to rectify some of the things that are taking place and let them know, if you come over here, we're not going to tolerate this. We want law-abiding citizens. We want productive citizens, and all of this has got to stop.
So let me ask you, what is the history of cheating in elections? Is it going to be better this time? Are we going to figure it out, or there's a lot of evidence that they're going to cheat like crazy, and there's court cases coming out that put John or Robert Kennedy on ballots he shouldn't be on, and things like that. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, one of the things is that with all these lawsuits that we have going across the United States, and what we're fighting is, what we're telling everybody is that you have to go vote. You have to go get your neighbor across the street, both sides of your home. You've got to go out and you got to make sure. You also got to go to the nursing homes and start watching the nursing homes, because we have the Democrats that are just going by and picking up and they're ballot harvesting, which is against the law here in Arizona. Now, there's several states that it's not. They can go and harvest and stuff. We need to start also looking at NGOs and making sure that we hold them accountable. If we find that there's any nefarious things like what Dinesh D'Souza with 2,000 Mules, which we proved without a doubt that was happening, and it was ballot harvesting was taking place here in Arizona. Each and every person that had that we have on camera needs to be prosecuted, and this is how we can do it. But we're not going to be able to get this done in time. So what we're asking is like what President Trump said, make it too big to rig. If you get the more people that you get to vote, that's one less ballot that they can cheat with.
Okay. Do you have any comments on this, Mr. Lockhart? Lockwood.
Well, you know what? I had a comment, but it backs up a tad. If somebody puts poison into a cup, do you actually blame the poison for the killing? Can anybody say traitor? Can anybody say treason?
I say it all the time.
People, maybe they should be,
we know that.
Maybe they should be put in jail for life. Maybe they should be killed for what they've done.
That's why they're doing this. They're doing this to cover all this up.
They wouldn't even be there were it not for the actions of our governments. So, the real perpetrators of these crimes are the people that have allowed it to happen.
Yes, and they're scared to death of losing, and that's why.
And
because Trump almost has to take action here. He can't.
Well, they don't want to lose the power and their stature. That's what they're afraid of. Because right now, remember, most of these people, this is as close to heaven as they're ever going to get. They're going to spend eternity in hell for what they've done, and so they want to have all the pleasures and things of this world has to offer. And I'm looking at a better place, and that's not something for them. So we need to understand where we're headed.
Okay, I'm going to do closing arguments here. I'm going to start with Mr. Lockwood over here, and appreciate you staying on. Any predictions for the future? Since
yes,
you are,
I believe that Donald
you
Trump
are
is
back
going
to
to be
the future orientated.
Donald Trump is going to be our next president.
What's going to happen?
Donald Trump is going to be our next president.
Okay, what's he going to do? Is he
Like
going
I
to be
said,
okay?
Donald Trump is going to be he's going to be okay. He's going to be our next president. And I believe Mr. Vance has got a long time in politics ahead of him.
Okay,
He
all right.
may be. Yes, indeed.
All right, Jeff, what do you got? Closing argument.
Well, the main thing is that what we're focusing right now on is get out the vote, the golden tickets, phone banking, calling people, letting them know what's going on, and getting them to commit. We're getting on our phone banking, we're getting a verbal commitment. We find out that there's 68% apt to go out and vote if they said that they were going to vote. So what we're doing is we're trying to get verbal commitments on phone banking, golden tickets. I'm talking to people. We have until October the 7th, so we're coming up very quickly on October the 7th when you can register and you can change parties and stuff. So these are all things that we're doing here in Arizona. And as soon as I get done from here, I'm leaving. I'm walking my neighborhood, talking to people, and leaving the golden ticket.
Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and contribute to you guys? Go, Jeff.
Oh, okay. So you can go to thinkzink.vote. That's think.vote. My last name is Z as in zebra, INK. And you can find my webpage, and you can go and donate. But you can also see what all I have and what I stand for, which are conservative Republican values.
Yes, and I'm sorry. Oh, Patricia Odin Maxwell. Real what? Can you say again how to get this video?
That the one on Twitter, Jeff, that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, real Jeff Zink, AZ. So Arizona. So AZ. So real Jeff Zink AZ is my my handle for Twitter. And so you can go there, and then you can you'll look down the list, and then you'll find the video itself.
You know, I owned a bunch of dives until I was disjointed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I thought I was definitely going to get crickets for that one. Anyway, thank you so much, gentlemen. I really enjoyed it, and I love the duo here. Thanks for staying. And Lockwood there has a book. Could you hold that up? We've got it here. It's right here. Here, yes. Where can you get your book, Lockwood?
On Amazon.
Okay. Do you got it?
It can be purchased on Amazon.
Yeah.
It could be purchased on Barnes and Noble. The Ballot of Donald J. Trump. It's poetry, and it's selling quite well.
Please pick up. It's timely too.
Please pick up a copy.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time on the show. And we got a couple minutes. Anybody want to call? I'll take your call if I can. 573-578-2700. Do we have any more messages? That was it. Okay. Well, let's do a couple more of the. Let's see here. Let's do 5 and 6.
Salim al-Atrash, whose brother Muhammad, a brave Arab Israeli soldier, was murdered. His body too was taken to Gaza. And so was the body of Ifat Hyman's daughter in Bar, who was brutally murdered at that same music festival. With us is Sharon Sharabi, whose brother Yossi was murdered, and who prays for his older brother Eli, who is still held hostage in Gaza. And with us too is Yizhar Lifshitz from Kibbutz Nir Oz, a kibbutz that was wiped out by the terrorists. Thankfully, we achieved the release of his mother Yocheved, but his father Oded is still languishing in an underground terrorist hell of Hamas. I again promise you, we will return your loved ones home. We will not spare that effort until this holy mission is accomplished. Ladies and gentlemen, the curse of October 7th began when Hamas invaded Israel from Gaza. But it didn't end there. Israel was soon forced to defend itself on 6 more war fronts organized by Iran. On October 8th, Hezbollah attacked us from Lebanon. Since then, they fired over 8,000 rockets at our towns and cities, at our civilians, at our children. 2 weeks later, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen launched drones and missiles at Israel, the first of 250 such attacks, including one yesterday aimed at Tel Aviv.
All right. So we're back, and we got like 25 seconds left. Listen, I thought this was a great show. I had some great guests. One of them still sitting there. He snuck a look. He snuck back on. All right. So we'll have him back. Not just today, though. Okay. I'll be back with another edition of the Dave Weinbaum Show next Friday.